Hello friends, it's me mahrose Technology Wali from Rehanschool Manawari campus. So welcome to my podcast. Today we have a very special guest from America. Her name is Liz Murdoch. She is an expert in talking with dogs and helping people understand their pets better. Miss Liz has been talking with dogs since she was a child. She also has a podcast called Talking with the Dogs, and she shares her knowledge on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. So she helps rescue dogs, trains people, and travel around the world to teach others. So let's welcome Miss Liz and learn more about her amazing words. Hello, Miss. How are you? Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so Miss, my first question is that from you that you discover your unique gift of communicating with dogs in kindergarten. Can you tell us about that moment and how it shaped your journey?
So in kindergarten, I was at a classmate brought a dog into class for show and tell. And we were talking about the dogs and the nails painted purple. And I heard this voice in my mind of the dog saying, I can do more of this. And I didn't have much experience with dogs, but I knew that that dog was telling me I can do more than just stand here. And that made me want to have a dog and led to my lifelong commitment to wanting to understand dogs and work with them. And that's what got it started.
Okay, so I have seen in some people they're God gifted. They have some, you may say, unique talent, or you may say seven sense. So I guess like you have, and you are very special. So what inspired you to blend education, energy healing, and animal communication into a full-time profession?
What made me want to do it as a profession is that I realized I could. I was doing it for free as a volunteer for dog rescue for many years, and I was helping them place dogs that needed a new home. And when I moved, I was no longer able to work with that rescue. And I found that in practicing with people, I was taking some classes, I kept getting enough calls and interest that people said, you need to start charging for this. So I did. And then I started sharing it on the podcast because the animals were telling me such important information about their health and what people needed to know. They would show me, oh, there's a little white pill that doesn't make me feel good. And it would turn out that there was a white pill that they could go talk to their vet. The vet would adjust the meds based on what the vet knew, and the dog would feel better. And so I just feel like since I can do this and it's making a difference, that I should. And so as long as people keep coming to me, wanting me to talk to their animals and to help them with challenging situations, I'm just going to keep doing it.
Okay, so you can talk with dogs. So can you talk with another animals? Like you can understand their feelings and what they want to say, like cat or any birds, or just you are expert to talk with dogs?
Yes, I can talk to any animal. I find dogs much easier for me to talk to because dogs are in companionship with people more than, say, a horse. Horses can communicate very effectively, but in terms of a business, for me, I would like to work with people who have dogs. That I get most people sleep with their dogs. They don't sleep with their horses. And so there's a level of connection that's easier for me to work directly with the person rather than, say, a horse client has a trainer, has somebody who feeds them. There's so many other people involved. But with a dog, there's usually one or the family. And I find that very gratifying to be able to work directly with them, give them the information, and they do with it what they find best to do.
Yeah, you are right. Dogs are very friendly and they really love to spend time with human beings, and we see that mostly dogs mostly live with human beings, so they feel more comfortable and they really enjoy it. So you have won awards and completed your master's from Columbia University. So how did your academic path support your work with animals?
Can you repeat the question? How did my what support the work?
Yeah, sure, miss. No worry. My question is that you have won awards and completed your master's from Columbia University. So, how did your academic path support your work with animals?
So, learning that my master's is in international education and communication, and understanding that just like different cultures have different learning styles and what's meaningful to them, animals are the same way. They're very different. And just because two dogs might look alike, just like two people, they can have preferences. They can have different learning needs, how to walk a dog, how to train a dog. So as much as I thought I was going to be working more in education with people about traditional content that we teach others, humans about, the skills that I learned in helping people in their culture, whether it's a culture of a home culture is just like a country culture. They're so different. There are similarities, but that's helped me really hone in on what this pet family needs and how to say it in a way. I speak other languages. And so you could say something in French, but if somebody doesn't understand it, it's not going to help them. And so I'm very intentional about trying to share the information in the right language. Of even words matter. Even in the same English language, a certain word, some dog family is going to relate to more than a different English word. And so my my training in international education has really taught me that communicating with any individual or animal can be specific to that client. And that's really important.
Okay, I am also animal lover and I really love. Currently I have one cat and one kitten too. We had also one puppy we got from street, and the puppy was so he just born and there was no any mother or something, so we got our home and then we nurture it, and then with the passage started to he gets with the passage time he gets big, so we don't know too much, so we decided to release because we think that for keeping them in home, so it's very sometimes difficult because we are so busy and we can't care too much them about them. So right. We are now he's very happy. Now he is in park. There's some people they live in park and they really care about him, and he is so happy when we go to meet with him, and he made a number of friends, means he made a number of friends. So it was a little bit difficult to understand him, but many things we understand. So as you know, your specialty is that you can talk with dogs, so it's your natural talent. So after that you talk means you got course from anywhere and you just apply your natural part.
Yeah, so people will book a session with me and I do it over Zoom on a call, and they'll have their dog. I'll say, I want to meet your animal. Usually it's a dog. I do have cats. Sometimes they take their laptops to the barn to talk to the horse. But the dogs will come to the screen and I'll just say, hi, I'm Liz. I'm an animal communicator. I want to find out what you need, what's going on. And I get all this information and then I journal it as I'm getting it to make sense for me. And then I translate it because I get it through my ears. I hear, or I'll just know something, or I can see it. So I have to describe it. And I might say, like the dog you're talking about, oh yeah, the dog still has favorite people. Some feed your dog, some, like I can see that in the park, and also I'll describe it. So I might say some feed the dog, some like to pet it and play with it. And your dog is happy because the dog likes the variety of people. So I'll give information describing what's coming through my senses.
So I want to ask one question from you. Now, in these days, in our street, there are many street puppies, but one of them, I don't know why, but he get too attached. Like he always want to come in our house, and when we enter our home, so he comes with us and refuse to go out from our home. And no matter what we do, we don't try to harm it, but because when he comes and he mess all the things dirty, and means to urine and pop and these all things. So why he does these all things? And when we try to get out of our home, so he barks so loudly, like it seems like we are beating him. And then we just get like a shock. What happened? We just try to say that get out of our house, but he refused, and he just loudly he barked, and it seems like that we are beating him very badly. And that time we just started to laugh that he is so dramatic. Even his dog mother comes and his siblings to bring him, but he don't go. He just lay on our stairs and try to come in our rooms and kitchen. So can you tell us what behavior tells about his?
So what I get from him is like here in the heart area up here, that he wants the connection, the human connection is what it's really about. And that he's drawn to something in your family, like the love that he wants. So he's getting, because he gets your attention and he feels closer, that interaction. And that's where it comes that every dog is different. So the other puppies in his family may not have that need, but for some reason he has that need. It's like he wants human love, and I feel it here. And it's like, oh, and so what I want you to consider, which is what I do with all my clients, is what can you shift that can help him get what he needs so that he'll go back away. Because even if you had a home and that he could come to and stay and live 24 hours, you can't stay with him. No person can really stay and just give a dog. But what can you give? So it's like, oh, that's enough that it fills him up. So maybe at a certain time of day, you give him a treat, whether it's a hug or attention or a really good belly rub. And then he's filled up and can go, rather than he keep trying to get something, because it feels like he wants a connection. And, most people feel better after a hug from a special someone, or, I feel better after I have my glass of water or my cup of coffee every morning. Dogs can be that way too. And it feels like this dog, he wants that certain something. And once he gets it, he'll be like, oh, I feel better now. So consider what your family can do that is about connection with him, a warm fuzzy. And because I keep wanting to go here, that he wants to, like, I want that too. So try that. That's what I'm getting from this dog.
Yeah, you are right, because we can see that he really loves to come in our house and meet with us. What we can do for him is that we can give him food. He really loves to eat meat and chicken. So we bring for our kittens, we also give them, and he eats too much. I just put a little piece of some chickens to my kid, and I give him a lot of, and he just ate, you may say, in under 1 minute, and I got just shocked how much he eats. just give them food, we give them water. But he said it, I want you to adopt me, and please make me sit in all the day and forever in your home, because I'm very scared, because I have also one cat and one kitten, and they kill the kittens, and they kill many kittens. In morning I saw two little kittens die in my street. They just died, so I'm very scared. So I said it, no, you cannot, we can give you food, water, each and everything out of home, but we cannot make you stay in our house, because my cat, she gets aggressive when he comes in our house, and when the dog, he tries to get near my cat, so she just screech loudly, say meow meow, and it seemed like she will. So that's why I feel like, so it was so unique behavior that if we say someone, okay, go from out, or any his siblings or our mother, they goes, but he doesn't go. So I said, okay, I will ask from you that what he wants to actually want to say us, and what's their mean. And because the thing which makes us really laugh about it, that he's so dramatic. If we just speak up like this and said said go out of our house, and he barks so loudly that his mother and all in our near two houses see what happened. Did they sibling or my kid? So we just get like shocked. He's so dramatic. So it's kind of interesting, but sometimes it's really hard to handle. But I'm doing. So I recently heard. Yeah?
I want you to consider that though. Of, is there a time of day when you only feed him at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock, and maybe put a bed outside that's his bed, so you start training him what's okay, because he wants that. And if he's not going to just stop completely, what is okay? And it feels like if you show him you're okay, but you're staying outside, you stay, this is your bed, he'll start to learn, because he wants that connection. He likes that human connection. Just like some people like to talk to the teacher every day and blah, blah, blah. And other people, they want to talk to their friends, or they just want to read their book. Dogs are the same way. They can have their preferences. So think about what you can change to help him learn the house rules with your family.
Yeah, you are right. And mostly I've seen that some like dogs, they eat just meat or chicken, but some dogs, they eat or anything like cake, biscuit, or something like this. So what's the difference? Because whenever I go like outing or somewhere, when I see any dog and I want to feed them, and there's no any meat, so I just buy for them biscuits and cake, but they don't eat. So what's the difference?
Well, again, it's like people who have preferences. The meat's going to give them more protein and help them, and they might not want the cake and the sugar, or they don't feel as good. There's something called the food codes, where you can tell what makes your body feel better. And, just like people, too much of sugar. Some people don't like broccoli, but other people do. Dogs know what's good for them. And it's like, no, I don't want that. Or yes. For the most part, they know what's okay, especially a street dog that has to survive by knowing what's going to be good for them. So it's just their preferences.
Okay, so Miss, recently I got one news that China company, they are making something like from AI, so we can directly communicate with animals. Like now, how we are communicating, we can understand exactly what they are saying, and they can also understand it. So I found it kind of interesting that I think, oh my gosh, I can communicate my cat very easily. I can understand by her behavior, by her face expression, but the like urge to understand, like what she says as meow meow, I can understand exactly her one word. So it's kind of interesting. So what do you think, it is possible that we can communicate, and the era will become that animals and human beings, there's no any barrier of communicating?
So I think that there's some information that definitely we can get from AI, but just like if you were to write a letter telling someone how much you love them and have AI tell this person how much I love them, it might be close, but it might leave out like, I love the special way you hold my hand. I love the way you cut the watermelon. It's not going to just know those kinds of details that really makes a difference in an intimate love relationship with someone, or the nuances. Like I can say, I'm hungry, I'm so hungry, but you might not get the message through AI that I want a little bit of pasta, but not too spicy. I only like cucumbers without the skin on. I don't think that the technology is there to sense the detail level of what is that very special bond between humans that we know, unless we feed it that information. So I think that it can be helpful, but it doesn't replace the need for human interaction to edit it, kind of, edit what AI gets.